Roa traveled to the world of the One Piece King, starting in the cage of Doflamenco. Fortunately, he awakened the check.in system and obtained the strongest heat-type soul-slaying blade. Flowing blade like fire. The forest is full of everything, all of which are ashes, and the flowing blade is like fire. Famous for its towering flames, it is above the sea. 5 old stars. Damn it, who exactly is this guy who has been hindering us? Warring states. This guy definitely has an undisclosed conspiracy. Red dog. His flames can actually harm me. Red hair. This person is definitely worth making friends with. As we continuously sign into the island, various divine-level rewards appear. From then on, above the sea, I am the strongest. Main characters. Roya, Khalifa, Zifa, White Dove. Keywords of the novel. Pirates. Opening check-in, flowing blade if fire, no pop-ups, pirates. Opening check-in, flowing blade if fire, TXT complete collection download, pirates. Opening check-in, flowing blade if fire latest chapter reading. Chapter 1. Flowing blade like fire, heavenly flame. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Shihai, Haiyan Island. A fierce competition surrounding the surgical fruit is unfolding. Karalan, tell me where Luo is. Otherwise. On the snowy white ground, Doflamenco played with the heart-shaped fruit in his hand and burst out laughing. Then he extended a hand and pointed it towards the sky. The people on the entire island will die because of you. Countless sharp and tough white threads were seen, rooted in the entire island, centered around Domingo. White silk threads poured down from the sky, to anyone who is attached by them. Their bodies were not under their control, they raised their fists or sharp blades, and began to kill each other. And some lucky people, who were not attached and wanted to pass through the birdcage, were directly cut off by sharp silk threads, and the entire island instantly turned into a slaughterhouse of Shura. Blood dyed the pure white earth red, condensing into patches of blood-colored glaciers. Bird cage. Ko Rang looked at the scene before him and his pupils suddenly shrank. As an undercover agent in the Navy, Karalan was well aware of the brutality of Doflamenco. He was truly capable of doing such a thing, and even if he did tell him, he would probably go back and forth. But the justice in his heart prevented him from crossing the hurdle in his heart. Is there really no other way? Karalan lay powerless on the ground, having already been shot several times, struggling to hold on with only the last bit of faith. But, what's the use of this? Lo! The light in Karalan's eyes dimmed. Above the sky, an unnamed flame of karma surged into the clouds, emitting a blazing aura, rising from the west of the island. At this moment, the snow stopped. The wind has stopped. It seems like there is only that towering flame in the entire island. This is. Doflamenco suddenly sensed a terrifying and rapid attack without a sound. As a joker in the underground world, year-round battles prompt his body to unleash a domineering aura for defense. But at the same time, boom boom. I saw the indestructible and unbreakable bird cage easily broken through by this flame, like tearing paper. Afterwards, the blazing flames burst into countless flames in the air, pouring down from the sky and instantly devouring the entire island. In an instant, on the island, the domineering flames melted the thick ice and snow, like a stunning sight. And the fruit in his hand was also swept away by the sudden flames just now. Upon seeing the scene before him, the veins on Doflamenco's forehead erupted and he couldn't help but tremble. Damn it, my fruit. How powerful a person could be in this offensive. Damn it. Although the victory is already in hand, the fruit has been swept away by this terrifying flame. Now even the birdcage has been broken, and the crane will lead the navy to land on the island, plus this unknown powerhouse. All sorts of factors combined, making Doflamenco almost furious. But there's absolutely no way. At this point, however, Flamenco felt all kinds of unwillingness in his heart and immediately said to the other members of Don Quixote, "Withdraw." The navy above the sea was also attracted by this shocking fire. "I didn't expect Doflamenco's action to be so fast. There's a change in plan, hurry up and land on the island. Also be careful, there may be other forces inside." General Crane saw the terrifying power and his heart sank, but the importance of surgical results was also extraordinary. At this time, there is a rarely visited place on the island. Roa, who had just crossed into the world of pirates, put his flowing blade like fire into his sword scabbard and picked up the surgical fruit from the air. The corner of his mouth slightly raised as it was rolled up by the burning breath. "Is this the sign in reward? It's really strong. Ding, produced by the system, it must be a masterpiece. This system is a divine level check that IN system, with rewards for checking in on Haiyan Island. The flowing blade is like fire, the most powerful and ancient hot type soul-slaying sword. The spiritual pressure that comes with it at the beginning of the release can even rival the domineering color and aura. Ding, check that IN to famous scenic spots in the original work can earn additional rewards. Note: to successfully check that IN, you need to be within a certain range." After hearing the system's words, Roya felt even more excited about the rewards for famous attractions. At this moment, a figure fell into Roya's field of vision. As a traveler, Roya naturally knows who the child in front of her is, isn't it Trafalgar? One of the 7 martial seas under the future king. I never expected to encounter him here. At this moment, Luo carefully observed Loya. Under the cover of Corallan, he finally managed to escape here, only to see the scene of Loya cutting the bird cage to pieces with one sword. The man in front of me, with such powerful power, seems to have a way to save Corallan. For Loya, Luo felt a bit scared in his heart, but when he thought of the crisis in Corallan at this moment, Luo's heart stiffened and he dared to walk towards Loya. "Well, please help me. Help me save Corallan." At first, Luo's voice was very low, but then he thought of Corallan and finally boldly shouted at Luoya. But Roya walked directly past him, as if treating him like air. Reluctant, Luo ran to Luoya's side again and begged, "Please, save Corallan. He is a good person and a very, very important person to me. As long as you can save Corallan, you can do anything you want me to do. I can give you everything I have, help me, okay? I really can't lose him." At this moment, the surgical fruit was thrown over by Loya at some point, gently hitting Luo's head before falling to the ground. Luo looked at the heart-shaped fruit in front of him, and his eyes were suddenly filled with light. He extended his trembling hands and held it in his palm. Immediately after, Roya's voice drifted from a distance, "Use your own strength to save your most important person." Upon hearing Loya's words, Luo forcefully wiped away the tears that were about to fall from the corners of his eyes. Then he swore in his heart that he would follow this man in the future. Because without him, he would have lost his most important person. Cologne brought hope for life to Luo with the surgical fruit, while Luo brought the miracle of life to Cologne with the surgical fruit. Thinking about it this way, it seems pretty good. By the time she thought of this, Roya had already left the island, as if she had never appeared before. Chapter 2. Miracle Surgery, High Reward. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Shortly after Loya's departure, Lieutenant General Crane surrounded the island with a large number of navies, leaving only Corallan, who had just been rescued and awakened by Loya. "Corallan. Where are the people from the medical unit? Go and check them out quickly. Be sure to save Corallan." General, he looked nervously at Ko Rang. As an old friend of the Warring States period, she had just learned about Ko Rang's existence from the Warring States period. This is not only a spy for the Navy, but also an adopted son of the Warring States period. We must keep him. General, he quickly called for the medical unit to examine Corallan's body, but he took advantage of this time to check various clues on the island. Hajong came to a building and reached out his hand to gently touch the burn marks on it. The burn marks were so striking that there were countless. Thinking of the skyrocketing flames just now, General, he felt his heart tremble and said, "How powerful this is." Just as Lieutenant General he spoke out with emotion, the medical team had completed the examination and immediately came to report to him, "Lieutenant General, Kalong's physical examination has been completed." When the captain of the medical unit said this, his expression was a bit strange. However, very, very strange is that Ming Kalong's body is almost in a state of serious injury and death, but there is no life-threatening situation. The blood circulation is normal, and it feels like someone has performed a miraculous surgery. After hearing the words of the medical team captain, General He's eyes sank and he murmured, "Miracle surgery." It seems that the fruit of the surgery was taken and eaten by someone. With this in mind, General Crane came to the side of Kalong. Lying on the ground, Kalong saw the arrival of General Crane and wanted to get up, but was stopped by General Crane. "Kalong, I'll ask you a few simple questions." "Yes." Although Kalong's life was not in danger, his breath was still relatively weak and his voice was very low. "Do you know the identity of the strong suddenly appearing on the island?" Kalong shook his head. "Have you seen his face?" Kalong shook his head. "Where is the surgical fruit?" "Where is the surgical fruit?" "Do you know?" Kalong shook his head. He knew it was Luo who saved him, but he couldn't tell the Navy that it was Luo who ate the fruit. "This is a kind of protection for you, Luo. I only hope that he can become stronger on the sea and find his own piece of land." General Crane looked into Kurang's eyes, but it seemed that he didn't even notice anything. For a long time, General he sighed and said, "Someone, bring Kalong back to the boat and let him rest well." Subsequently, General he took out his own phone worm and dialed out to the Warring States period. Marin Fando, in the office of the Warring States period. The Warring States period, standing in front of the window, answered the phone as soon as the worm rang. During the Warring States period, there was nothing to do with Karalan. After hearing General He's words during the Warring States period, his heart that had been hanging on for a long time finally came to rest. "That's good, that's good. And what about the surgical results, and what about Domingo?" Upon hearing about the issue during the Warring States period, General he smiled bitterly and said, "The surgical result was not unexpected. It should have been taken away by the mysterious strong man on the island. As for Doflamingo, he probably ran away when that mysterious strong man took action." General he told the Warring States in detail what he had seen. The Warring States period tightly clenched its fists, especially when it heard the raging fire, burning up the snow, breaking through the birdcage, and stretching for thousands of miles. A slight cold sweat appeared on its forehead. "I see, check the island again. If there is no harvest, come back." Hanging up the phone worm, the Warring States informed Steel Bones of the intelligence, and Steel Bones immediately arrived at the Holy Land of Maria, where the 5 old stars resided. "Steel Bone, I hope you can bring me good news." One of the 5 old stars holding a sword said to the Steel Bones. Upon hearing the words of the 5 elders, Steel Bone was not disturbed by their words at all. He stood in front of the 5 old stars and said in a low voice, "The surgical fruit has been snatched away by someone." As Steel Bone's words fell, the old man who was wiping his sword stopped his hand and the pressure on his body rushed toward Steel Bone. "What are you saying?" With a strong and overwhelming aura, Steel Bone said again, "Haiyan Island, on the island we are trading, a mysterious powerhouse has appeared and snatched away the surgical fruit." Once again, it was confirmed from the mouth of Steel Bone that the 5 old stars were silent. The tense atmosphere began to permeate at this moment. I don't know how long it took, but one of the bald 5 old stars said to Steel Bones, "Issue a bounty order, offering a bounty of 2 billion Bailey. I must find the person for me, and I will ask various intelligence agencies to assist in investigating the identity of this mysterious person. The surgical results must be in our hands." Steel Bones nodded heavily and then retreated from the Holy Land of Mary and Joan. The Navy's movements were very fast. Not long after, a completely blank bounty appeared in front of everyone on the sea. Every island controlled by the Navy is covered with this bounty, and even collaborated with intelligence tycoon Morgans to send countless newsbirds, striving to deliver this bounty to everyone's hands. The Mobidic, a huge ship belonging to the Whitebeard. Marco was looking at the latest bounty, and when he saw this blank one, he was clearly stunned. Dad, the Navy has issued a completely blank reward order, which only indicates that they will use Heavenly Flame without any other information. The reward is 2 billion Bailey. Marco's voice caught the attention of other members. What? 2 billion Bailey. Still a mysterious person who doesn't know any information. What kind of guy is he? What exactly did he do to make those old and corrupt sailors so irritable? Kolalala. Such a person, I really want him to become my son. The heroic laughter echoed on the Mobidic, and the crew couldn't help but burst out laughing when they saw Whitebeard so happy. Marco rose beside him. Daddy, you are here again. On Cake Island, Charlotte Lingling, who was preparing for the first tea party, also saw this newspaper. 2 billion Bailey. The Navy, these crazy dogs, can really do anything. Katakali stood next to Charlotte Lingling and said, Mom, being able to make the Navy make such a foolish decision, I think this guy must have done something that touches the interests of the Navy. Now the first tea party will be held successfully. If this person dares to come, I will make his soul into dim sum and eat it. I think it will be very delicious. Okay, Mom. In a small island, Luo looked at the blank bounty in his hand and felt a warmth in his heart. The almost invincible figure filled his mind. After I become stronger, I will definitely follow you. On the island, the sound of Luo resounded. At this moment, the protagonist of this blank bounty found a woman on the sea. Chapter 3. Arriving at the island and mastering the binding path. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Ding, post-check.in task. O'Hara, reward. 99 Mastery of binding skills, time limit. 3 days. The prompt sound of the system echoed through Roya's mind. Roya was unaware that he had already been rewarded with a prize of 2 billion yuan, and he was rushing towards O'Hara at full speed. Just as he was thinking this, his gaze turned to the distant sea. He saw a beautiful woman lying on a wooden board, drifting on the sea. Without much thought, Roya immediately rescued him. Olivia slowly opened her eyes and breathed a sigh of relief when she saw only Loya wearing a cloak. Thank you for rescuing me. My name is Olivia. As the words fell, Orvia discovered the direction of the ship's movement, which was towards O'Hara. Immediately, Olivia said to Roya, Are you going to O'Hara? O'Hara is very dangerous now. After hearing Robin's mother, Olivia's words, Roya said calmly, It's okay. Anyway, we both have to go, so don't waste your time. 2 days later in the morning, warships with sails of the world government slowly docked not far from O'Hara. Spanda, standing on the deck, looked at the island before him, hidden in a thick mist, and showed a hint of grimace. A gloomy smile made people shudder. I finally arrived at O'Hara, the island of sin. I don't know if the woman who jumped into the sea to escape was still alive and didn't kill her with my own hands. It's really too regrettable. As Spandauen's words fell, he left the deck directly and led his men towards O'Hara. Stepping on the land of O'Hara, Spanda held his head high, as if he couldn't see everything about the island in his eyes. This island is simply too barren. I really don't know how the people on this island survive. It's better to let my uncle directly kill all the people on this island. Upon hearing Spandauen's words, their subordinates felt a slight cold sweat on their foreheads. They thought of Spandauen's previous actions and truly believed that he could do such a thing. Sir, let's first go to the Tree of Omniscience in the center of the island and investigate Olivia. Is there anything left by that woman or anything else that threatens the government? Before his subordinates could finish speaking, Spandau took out his gun from his waist, aimed it at the speaker, and pulled the trigger. Bang! Spandau looked at this subordinate and slowly fell down, snorting coldly, "Do I still use you to teach me how to do things?" After speaking, Spandau walked towards the tree of all knowledge. Ding! Congratulations on the host's successful check that I am in obtaining. 99 Mastery of Binding Paths. Binding paths are a type of ghost path in the world of the Grim Reaper, mainly used for defense against imprisonment. Advanced binding paths can even constrain the actions of thousands of people in just one thought. Just as the electronic sound of the system fell into Roya's mind, the sudden sound of gunfire shattered the peaceful atmosphere of O'Hara. Roya's lips slightly raised as she murmured, "It seems that our time here was just right. It won't waste too much of my time." Unlike Roya's calmness, Orvia was immediately flustered when she heard the gunshots. Her eyes were filled with anxiety, and she immediately ran towards the Tree of Omniscience. Roya watched as Alvia's silhouette gradually faded away, and slowly walked towards the Tree of All Knowledge. At this point, Spandau had already arrived at the Tree of All Knowledge. Spandau, who had just arrived here, saw a little girl running towards the Tree of All Knowledge. Upon seeing the situation, Spandau waved his hand and directly ordered, "The World Government's Special Intelligence Department is carrying out special missions. Anyone who approaches without authorization will be shot and killed by me." Upon hearing Spandau's words, my subordinates furrowed their brows and said to him, "But, sir, this is just a little girl." Pop! With the words of his subordinates, just as they fell, Spandau slammed heavily on the face of the person speaking. "Do you want to reunite with the person who just opposed me below?" "No, I don't want to." The subordinate quickly shook his head. Compared to the little girl, it was obvious that his own life was more important. "Shoot me if you don't want to die, shoot together. For O'Hara's people, you must not be soft-hearted." When Spandau said these words, he showed a very cruel smile. He couldn't wait to see the scene of blood rushing out. The subordinates did not hesitate, they raised their firearms and aimed at the little girl not far away. Because the old scholars of the Tree of Omniscience, once studied, are completely unaware of what is happening outside. Robin, who was kind-hearted, wanted to come and remind them, but he didn't expect such a thing to happen. Robin looked at the black muzzle in front of her, her heart trembling. "Are you going to die now?" With her small fist tightly clenched, Robin thought of her mother in his heart. She had not seen her for a long time, and perhaps she would never see her again. "Robin." Suddenly, Orvia's voice reached Robin's ear, and she looked at the girl in front of her with a hoarse voice. Her speed increased significantly, and she then rushed towards Robin. "Hold your daughter directly in your arms, turn your back to the muzzle of those guns, and protect Robin in your arms." As Alvia's words fell, Spandau's subordinates also pressed the trigger. Bang! 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 The sound of gunshots echoed one after another on the island, with flames spewing out from the muzzle and gun smoke spreading towards Orvia and Robin, surging towards them. Time seemed to freeze at this moment, and Robin felt the warmth in Olivia's embrace. Tears welled up in his eyes, and he said, "No." At this critical moment, Roya reached out a little in the air and murmured softly, "Bound Path 64. Reflection Mirror." A semi-transparent disc appeared in front of the two women out of thin air, easily blocking the bullets and counterattacking them. The bullet fired back at a faster speed than before. Upon seeing the scene in front of him, Spandau's pupils suddenly shrank, and he instinctively pulled over a subordinate next to him, asking him to use his physical body to help him resist it. Roa's bullet reflected. The imagined pain did not appear, and Alvia and Robin slowly opened their eyes, looking in disbelief at Roya's direction. She didn't expect that the man who saved herself would be so powerful. Chapter 4. The demon-slaying order rises, and the tree realm comes to birth. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. The sound of bullets cutting through the air has disappeared. Spandau slowly poked his head out from behind, and the subordinate he had pulled over was already cold through. And he also survived through this despicable means. Spanda widened his eyes and looked at Loya incredulously as he slowly walked towards this place. His lips trembled, and at this moment, his once arrogant expression turned incredibly pale. What kind of ability is this? What kind of person are you? How could someone like you possibly appear in the West Sea? Spanda yelled at Roa at the top of his lungs. He glared angrily into his own eyes, but his eyes were filled with panic and filled with it. The strong are submissive in front of the strong, and the weak are punching hard in front of the weak, talking about people like Spandaun. Roya slowly walked toward Spandane, each step as if stepping heavily on his heart. At this point, Roya had already arrived near the Tree of All Knowledge. Ding, congratulations to the host for checking in on the Tree of All Knowledge and obtaining. Mu done. Tree realm descends. As the electronic sound of the system fell, Roya had already arrived in front of Spandane. Scared, Spandaun collapsed on the ground and said, "You, don't come over. If you're here, if you're coming over. Believe it or not, I'll press this down." As Spandaun spoke, he took out a golden telephone worm from his arms. When Olivia saw the golden telephone worm of Spandaun, she felt a sudden tremble in her heart. Roya, this is the button for the demon-slaying order. Once the demon-slaying order is activated, the entire O'Hara will become a ruin. Upon hearing Orvia's words, Spandaun seemed to regain his confidence and threatened Roya, "Yes, this woman is right. Now, kneel down and apologize to me. Otherwise, as long as I press this demon-slaying order, the entire island will disappear from the chart in no time. This represents the Navy's super-strong offensive ability." Roya's expression hidden under her hood was unusually calm. I saw Luoya reach out his hand and say, "Bound Dao for Grey rope." A rope-like light rope appeared in front of Roa out of thin air, which was used to entangle and capture opponents in the world of death to which he belonged. Lucia and Ase Eiji have both used this binding technique. But now, Roya directly used a grey rope and, taking advantage of Spandaun's lack of reaction, took the golden telephone worm into his own hands. Feeling a light touch in his hand, the golden telephone worm appeared in Roya's hand, and Spandaun's confidence disappeared in an instant. The confidence he had just had was like falling into an abyss, shattered to pieces. His only trump card has been easily taken away by Roya. He's panicked, completely panicked. Orvia, holding Robin, breathed a sigh of relief when she saw the scene before her. But then, Olivia's pupils suddenly shrank and he said, "Loya, are you crazy? You actually pressed down the demon-slaying order directly." The incident happened too quickly, and even Spandaun couldn't react. But when he saw Roya and pressed the golden telephone bug, despair followed by hope, which made him laugh and burst into laughter. "Press it down, you actually press it down. Are you just trying to make O'Hara fall? Ha ha ha. It's so foolish. So now let's show you the strongest attack of the Navy." Spandaun didn't expect the transformation to come so quickly. He thought he could do it again. The most important thing is that Roya is really foolish. How could such a foolish person be his opponent? Thinking of this, Spandaun's heart felt immensely swollen, because it was a demon-slaying order. Olivia's expression also became extremely solemn. At this time, thousands of soldiers, dozens of sergeants, and 5 lieutenants were on 10 warships off the island. At this moment, I also received a message from the golden telephone bug, heading towards O'Hara. The cannons on the ship roared, and countless slashes flew out from the ship, including attacks from 2 generals and their successors. Meteor volcano. Ice age. After receiving the command of the demon-slaying order, the 2 of them had no intention of releasing water and immediately released their most powerful power. Above the sky, there are terrifying and unparalleled attacks. Olivia and Robin both closed their eyes. Although they had already won the game just now, they didn't expect that Roya would do so. They can already imagine how dilapidated and unbearable the island will become. Spandauan laughed wildly and said, "This is the end of you provoking me. Now please go to hell and enjoy the cruelty of death." Accompanied by Spandauan's wild laughter, Roya's mouth slightly raised, but under the cover of the cloak, no one could see it. I saw Roya slowly extend her hand and slap it hard towards the ground. Mu Dun. Birth of the Tree Realm. As Luoya's words fell, the surging vitality contained in Mu Dun suddenly poured into the Tree of Omniscience. I saw the rhizome of the Tree of Omniscience pull out directly from the ground, constantly entangled, forming a huge defensive wall of rhizomes. The huge defensive wall, stretching for miles, stood on the island and easily blocked all the attacks of the demon-slaying order. Boom boom boom. Countless bullets, shells, slashes, and even the full force of the green pheasant and red dog failed to break through the defensive wall of the Tree of All Knowledge. Any attack that falls on top causes damage that is counterbalanced and restored under the surging vitality of Mu Dun. As the smoke of the first wave of attack by the demon-slaying order dissipated, Spandauan, who had just regained his confidence, looked at the scene before him and instinctively swallowed a mouthful of water. He had never seen such an amazing scene before. His lips trembled and he finally uttered a few words. How could it be? The Tree of All Knowledge, surprisingly alive. Not only Spandauan, but also the green pheasants and red dogs outside the island were shocked to watch this scene. They furrowed their brows, and the blow just now was their strongest skill. But it was this powerful force that was easily blocked by this rhizome-like defense wall. What kind of existence is this defensive wall? No matter what existence it is, what obstructs us on this island is evil that must be eradicated. Red Dog's arm was constantly engulfed in magma. Besides, this is just a tree. I don't believe in my magma, I can't burn him. Dark Dog. With a punch, a large amount of lava burned the air, and the high temperature made the air somewhat unreal. Just listen to a loud bang. Red Dog's magma fist hit heavily on the defensive wall composed of the Tree of All Knowledge. Chapter 5. The Demon-Slaying Order and the Report on Shaking the Pot. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Boom. The deafening sound echoed in the sky, but the marks left by the flames burning on it were quickly repaired by vitality and could not ignite at all. What terrifying repair power this is. This idea flickered in Red Dog's mind, but there was no better way. And Spandauan in front of Roya felt cold sweat all over his forehead. He also saw the attack of the Red Dog just now, and even saw it more clearly. At the moment the attack landed on top, not to mention shaking, there was no ripple at all, and it was fixed in the blink of an eye. At this moment, his eyes were already filled with a look of fear. Loya, what a fool. This is confidence in one's own strength. Thinking of this, Spandauan kept shrinking towards the back, then suddenly got up from the ground and ran towards the beach. He must run, this terrifying monster is definitely not something he can stop. Watching Spanda flee in embarrassment, a hint of contempt flashed in Roya's eyes. Escape. Where can we escape? Shine. I saw Luoya pull out his flowing blade like fire, and the sound of his sword singing softly in the air. The forest is diverse, all are ashes, the flowing blade like fire. As Loya's words fell, Olivia and Robin only felt flashes of fire in their eyes. The next second, a raging fire will rise from the sky. There is also a mix of terrifying spiritual pressure that is hundreds and thousands of times stronger than just now. In the perception of those people, the spiritual pressure has transformed into a domineering aura that seems like a substance. Roya stepped out with one step, and the ground cracked inch by inch. The extremely sharp blade, condensed with terrifying spiritual pressure, cut through the air, and the air rubbed against the blade, making a perfect arc from top to bottom. Flowing blade like fire head style. Pacing and slaying. Knife light flickers, spiritual pressure surges. The raging flames are roaring out. A huge and unparalleled slash fell into the eyes of the green pheasant and the red dog. Their pupils suddenly shrank without any hesitation, and they used their strongest skill to resist Roya's blow. There is no way to break through the defense, at the very least we need to block this slash. Otherwise, the 10 warships behind them will definitely become remnants. Ice Age. Meteor Volcano. Not only them, but also the remaining 3 generals, at this moment, have used all their strength to help Qingji and Chigo. Boom. However, even with a single blow from all the generals, when they touched the flame slashing of Roya, they were all swallowed up by the slashing, or used as nourishment, making the flame even more swollen. Boom. Another roar echoed, slashing across Spandauern, who had just run a short distance, and hitting the green pheasant, red dog, and 3 other generals heavily. Even the red dog, who had eaten the magma fruit, did not bear the high temperature carried by the Roya slash. They were all knocked away by Roya's slash. Under Roya's immense control, the flame slash crashed straight into the warship outside the island. In an instant, the warship shattered, flames slashed and swept through 10,000 tons of seawater, lifting it up into the sky and turning it into heavy rain. The seawater fell on the island, taking away the smoke and gas from it. At this moment, the island has returned to its previous tranquility and clarity. Olivia's lips trembled as one of the few people in O'Hara who had ever been out of the island. She only felt that Loya was stronger than anyone she had ever seen. Okay, so strong. Olivia's eyes sparkled with light, and she only felt that Loya was shining brightly at this moment. Above the sea. Because of Roya's recent attack, the ocean's undercurrents surged. A large number of warship fragments are floating on the sea. Spanda suppressed the pain on his body and dragged the green pheasant and red dog in a disheveled manner, lying on a wooden board. Green pheasant, red dog. You two are just a burden. You can't even win a single person, you can't even break through your defense. How can you talk about being a backup general? You're really useless. Spandauern is cursing here, but he still desperately drags the seriously injured green pheasant and red dog. Fortunately, Roya's strike just now was directed towards the green pheasant and the red dog. He reacted quickly, so the flame only scratched his back, causing a large area of burns on his back. Unlike the green pheasant and red dog, who suffer from severe injuries and shock, coupled with being capable individuals, various abilities and stamina seem to be sealed in the sea. If Spandauern didn't care and let the 2 people die like this, then the head on his neck probably wouldn't be safe either. After going through countless hardships, Spandauern finally reported the news of this action to the 5 Old Stars. As a special intelligence agency, Spandauern has the right to directly communicate with the 5 Old Stars. In order to reduce his own responsibility, Spandauern even praised Roya's strength to the heavens. At the same time, constantly throwing blame at the Navy and giving them small reports. Adults, the demon-slaying order failed. My subordinates were all killed due to stubborn resistance. The tree of all knowledge in O'Hara suddenly came to life, and the demon-slaying order was also defeated by a guy who used flames. Even the red dog general who ate lava fruits was injured by this flame. And those guys from the Navy, they're just worthless, one by one cowardly. There's no way to fight, they can't break into an army, they run wild. All the warships are broken, countless people are seriously injured. The Navy sent such a poor team, they didn't pay attention to this time's demon-slaying order, this is simply disrespectful to you. The implication of Spandauern's words is that the enemy is too strong, but we still resist stubbornly, but the Navy has dragged us down. Please let the 5 Old Stars take action lightly. The 5 Old Stars listened to Spandauern's words through the phone worm, their brows furrowed. They did not fully believe Spandauern's words. If it really is as described by Spandauern, then he won't be able to survive now. What only made them feel palpitations was the suddenly revived tree of all knowledge and the towering flames in Spandauern's mouth. About 3 days ago, on Haiyan Island, a towering flame also rose up, taking away the surgical fruit. It's all a blow, the kind of despair that makes people feel unable to resist. They can basically confirm that both of these towering flames were definitely the same person. Who the hell is this guy? What exactly is his purpose? Faced with such an unknown identity, strong strength, and constant opposition to them, their hearts were filled with strong anger. But they don't even know who their opponents are, how can they start? A loud bang. I saw a bald old star, in a fit of anger, directly smashing the table in front of me. I think we should send more force to investigate the whereabouts of this person. Our current information is too limited, not to mention whether we know his appearance, ability, or even his true purpose. As for O'Hara, we can only suppress the news of the failure of the demon-slaying order. The failure of the demon-slaying order can definitely be said to have fueled the arrogance of the sea. It must be suppressed and never spread. The bald head among the 5 old stars said, increase the bounty to 3 billion belly. Anyone who provides intelligence will be rewarded with 100 million belly. Let the intelligence personnel distributed over the sea collect information about this person while completing their own tasks. I don't believe he can escape the trap of our world government. As for O'Hara, let's not worry about it for now, but if any O'Hara people are found outside the island and slaughtered by me, please investigate carefully and see what's going on with the Tree of All Knowledge. How could it suddenly come to life? And on the Navy side, it's time to exchange blood. After discussing countermeasures, Wu Laoxing and others directly arranged it. On the other hand, the failure of the Navy's demon-slaying order, the mysterious powerhouses move again, and the revival of the O'Hara Tree of All Knowledge are also spreading rapidly on the sea. Chapter 6. Skip escapes from prison and Capp goes to war. You are listening at novelfull.audio. On the sea, the newspaper bird soars freely in the sky. Shortly after the end of the demon-slaying order, Morgan, as the owner of the world's largest newspaper, immediately printed the newspaper upon receiving the news. As for the dignity of the Navy, he doesn't care at all, he only cares if there is any big news. Adding this news about Roya, she already has 2 news stories that are enough to drive the ocean crazy. At this moment, a huge wave has already stirred up on the sea. The first one is Loya, who defeated the demon-slaying order with 1 sword. His bounty has reached a terrifying 3 billion belly, you know this is only the second bounty. However, compared to before, this time Roya's strength can be said to have truly entered the sight of those big shots. After all, defeating the demon-slaying order with just 1 sword is not something that anyone can do. As for the second news, it's the Golden Lion, Shi Ji, who escaped from the advancing city, claiming that no one could escape successfully. Breaking the record of no one escaping from prison in advancing city for decades. These 2 things can be said to make the Navy and the world government feel ashamed. This is a genuine slap in the face, still connected, which makes the entire Navy and the world government eager to regain their face. For a moment, the sea became even more chaotic. West Sea, O'Hara, in the Tree of Omniscience. Roya has been staying here for a whole day, holding the little Robin and reading the newspaper. When he saw the news of the Golden Lion, an electronic sound echoed in his mind. Ding, release check.in task. Vilmiu, reward. 1 random talisman from the 12 zodiac signs, time limit. 5 days. As the electronic sound of the system fell into Roya's mind, her eyes narrowed slightly. If Roya remembers correctly, the Golden Lion ski arrived at this place after escaping from the advancing city prison. I want to dominate the world again with the IQ plants that can make animals crazy. Robin sensed the change in momentum on Roa's body and immediately asked him, Brother Roa, what's wrong? Upon hearing Robin's words, Roya's lips slightly raised and he said to Robin, Robin, brother has something to attend to and may need to temporarily leave O'Hara. Olivia was right next to the 2 of them, and she also heard Roya's words. Loya, where are you planning to go? Is there anything I can help with? Taking Robin out of his arms, Roya said to Olivia, Olivia, do you know Vilmeo? Vilmeo. Olivia repeated softly, and then her eyes suddenly lit up. I know this place. When I was investigating the historical text, I had visited this island before. Although I didn't leave a permanent pointer, I knew how to get there. And the villagers of Vilmeo were particularly enthusiastic. After saying these words, Olivia said again, Loya, please wait here for a moment. I'll draw a rough chart for you, hoping it will be useful to you. Robin looked at his mother and ran towards the table next to him, then turned his eyes to Loya. Although she couldn't see the face hidden under her cloak clearly, Robin was very reluctant to let Loya leave, just like his mother in the past. Brother Roya, will you come back again? When will you be able to come back? Robin grabbed Roya's cloak, tears already swirling in his eyes, as if he was about to burst into tears at any moment. I'll just go out for a while. If I have time, I'll come back to see Robin. If Robin agrees to exercise his fruit ability well, then when you reach adulthood, you can also go out to sea to find me. Let's appreciate the charm of the sea together. Brother Roya, this is what you said. You can't deceive me. I'm not lying to you. Then let's pull the hook. Robin extended his finger. Roya also extended her fingers, hooked her two little thumbs together, then raised her thumbs and imprinted them on each other. Then Robin said, 100 years, no change. Well, it won't change. After Loya and Robin made a promise, Olivia also handed Loya the chart she had just drawn. Roya, O'Hara always welcomes you. Roya took the chart, chuckled, and then left from the Tree of All Knowledge. When he left the Tree of All Knowledge and walked towards the outside of the island. Unconsciously, he had already followed many people behind him. They all came to watch Loya leave. Because of Loya's presence, this island was able to continue. He is the savior of this island. Loya looked at these people and her heart was also shaken. When Roya arrived at the outskirts of the island, he slowly turned around. There is still some risk in leaving, although Roya knows that the Navy will not take another action against O'Hara for a while, but it is still better to be safe. At this point, I saw Loya's hands quickly forming a seal, Mu Dun. Tree Realm Birth. As Luoya clapped his hands on the ground, a large amount of vitality generated by Mu Dun poured into the ground. The rhizomes of the Tree of All Knowledge were pulled out again, becoming even thicker and intertwined, enveloping the entire O'Hara. Roya only left a few entrances and exits, making O'Hara a scene that was easy to defend but difficult to attack. After finishing all of this, Roya finally returned to his own boat and sailed towards Vilmeo. 3 days have passed in the blink of an eye, and a dog-headed warship and 2 ordinary warships are sailing rapidly in the open sea. A tall, broad-chested, muscular old man stood on the deck of a doghead warship. His gaze seemed to have crossed the vast sea, and he saw the figure of the golden lion Shurji fleeing in a hurry. He said in a deep voice, I didn't expect that the golden lion Shurji would break his legs and run away from the advancing city. I think he had already planned. According to the intelligence provided by the world government, it seems that the golden lion, Ski, is sailing towards an island called Vilmeo. A sergeant said to Capp. Will you be Vermiu? So it seems that our direction is not wrong. Keep moving at full speed and we must imprison the golden lion again to prevent any future troubles. Yes. Just as Capp ordered, the navigator on the ship said to Capp, Lieutenant General Capp noticed a ship sailing ahead without a pirate flag, only a person wearing a cloak standing on the deck. Kapu frowned when he heard the sailor's words. He knew that there was a mysterious figure wearing a cloak on the sea recently, who was constantly at odds with the Navy. With this in mind, Capp decided to go and take a look first. If it were really that mysterious person, he would be able to complete another task by the way. Chapter 7. The firewall burns the sea, blood flows into a river. You are listening at novelfull.audio. With Capp's command, the 3 ships sailing at full speed immediately headed towards Roya. Roya clearly sensed the presence of the Navy. Especially the dog-headed warship among these 3 warships, he knew it was Kappa's dedicated warship. The ship ahead, please stop immediately and cooperate with the investigation. Just listening to these 3 warships, using amplifying foam worms, constantly shouting at Roya. Upon hearing their words, Roya pulled down her cloak and said, "Now is not the time to play with you. There are only 2 short days left until the check that I end time for Vilmiu." According to Roya's speculation, the Golden Lion has probably arrived at Vilmiu by now, and has even activated its fruit power to make the island float in the sky. He doesn't want these navies to waste their time. Even Capp is impossible. At this moment, Roa's hand rested on the hilt of the sword and slowly drew out the flowing blade like fire. The forest is full of everything, all are ashes, and the flowing blade is like fire. As Roya's words fell, a simple sword blade ignited a forest fire out of thin air, causing the air to burn somewhat unreal. With the emergence of spiritual pressure, the imposing aura resembling a domineering color suddenly dispersed. Any naval soldier who felt this momentum was knocked unconscious by the shock. A strong wind rises and the waves are surging. Above the sky, dark clouds abound. Even Capp's pupils suddenly shrank, this guy's domineering aura is so powerful. As Capp's words fell, Roya slashed through the air from left to right with a flowing blade like fire. Flames spewed out, weighing tens of thousands of tons, hitting the sea and setting off countless waves. The surging waves made Roya's ships travel faster, significantly slowing down the speed of those 3 naval vessels. Meanwhile, a flame barrier appeared between Roya and their warship. This flame barrier burns fiercely on the sea, causing flames that stretch for dozens of miles upon entering the eyes. Blocked Roya and the warship, making it impossible for Capp to abandon the warship and pursue Roya. "This guy. Don't let me catch you. Otherwise, I will definitely beat you up hard." Capp clenched his sandbag-sized fist and shouted loudly to Roya in the distance. However, Roya had already traveled far by the waves and had not heard Capp's words at all. Capp's brow furrowed tightly, and compared to this flame, he noticed that the direction of Roya's departure happened to be in the direction of the Golden Lion. At this point, Kapu immediately took out the foam worm and reported to the Warring States as a general. "Kapu. Warring States period, I met that mysterious guy. Warring States period. Mysterious guy. Did you catch him? Did you see what he looked like?" "Kapu. None of them. We were blocked by the flame barrier he used, and most importantly, the direction he left was clearly in the direction of the Golden Lion. I'm afraid this time the Golden Lion escaped from prison, there's no connection to this person. If these 2 people were to unite, then there would be another powerful force on this sea." After hearing Kapu's words during the Warring States period, his heart sank. "I know, I will personally lead troops to support you. Anyway, you must hold them down for me." Kapu grinned and said, "Warring States, just leave it to me, but you must come to me quickly." Hanging up the phone, Capp looked towards the direction where Roya was leaving and burst out laughing, "No matter who you are, this time, you will be stuck." Roya was unaware of the movements on the naval side. He was watching Orvia, drawing a simple chart for himself, constantly adjusting his direction in sailing on the sea. At this point, Roya was actually not very anxious. At the last check that I end time, with only the last day left, Roya finally saw the island of Vilmiu. Just before Roya had even set foot on the island of Vilmiu for check.in, he smelled the constant smell of blood drifting from the island. This bloody smell was very strong, making Roya couldn't help but frown slightly. How many people need to be killed to achieve this effect with such a strong bloody smell? The ship stopped by the island, and Roya stepped on it. The electronic sound of the system also rang in Roya's mind at this moment. Ding, congratulations to the host for successfully checking in and obtaining 12 zodiac charms. Chicken charm. This charm can make the holder suspend in the air and control the floating movement of objects, similar in function to the floating fruit of the golden lion. Roya took out the chicken charm from the system space, looked at the chicken charm in her hand, and held it in her hand, then thought of floating in her heart. I saw a layer of blue light shining on Loya's body, which flickered and disappeared. Immediately after, Loya's body floated up. Is this the feeling of floating? Roya quickly mastered the use of the chicken charm and floated and moved in the sky. When he floated to a certain height, Roya finally saw where the rich bloody smell came from. That is Vilmeo, a village located in the jungle, with corpses scattered everywhere and blood flowing, resembling a terrifying purgatory. Taking control of his body, Roya arrived at the village of Vilmeo. I didn't step on the ground because it was covered in blood and water, with only sword marks appearing on the ground. Sword marks continue to extend into the rainforest, and a bearded man with blonde hair mopping the floor is constantly slaughtering with his double swords under his feet. Sword energy fluttered in the air, constantly raging. Every slash will take away fresh life. Chia ha ha ha. This is a world of the fittest, and anyone without power can only be slaughtered recklessly. Now I have a crush on this island, so you should disappear from it. In the eyes of the golden lion Shurji, there was a hint of crimson blood, a hint of madness emanating. He, who had just escaped from the city of propulsion, lost both feet, but he was replaced with two famous swords, Sakura Ten and Muku, which were placed on his legs as limbs for action. But after all, they were just replaced and not very familiar with it, so Golden Lion happened to use the people from Vermiu to practice their skills. Refining techniques with fresh blood, allowing one's strength to recover in the shortest possible time. At the same time, he also took a liking to this island, especially the IQ plants on it. I just killed all the people on this island and took it as my own. Based on this island, gather other pirates. The Golden Lion can even imagine that in the near future, his name will reappear on the sea. But at this moment, the Golden Lion suddenly turned around and looked towards the nearby jungle. Chapter 8. The struggle between Snipes and Clams, fishermen gain benefits. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The Golden Lion's eyes were fixed on the nearby jungle. He only felt an unprecedented tension rising in his heart. Who's there? As soon as the Golden Lion's words fell, his right leg swung out like a whip. Without mercy, a slash was sent towards the jungle. In the blink of an eye, the slasher roared towards the jungle. Roya used the power of the chicken charm to float directly towards the sky and easily dodged the Golden Lion's strike. I saw this slash, as the distance went by, it continued to increase, directly dividing the jungle in half. Immediately after, the houses behind were all cut in half by the Golden Lion's slash. I said I passed by, do you believe me? Roya pulled her cloak and said indifferently to the Golden Lion. The Golden Lion looked at the person floating in front of him, and a surprise flashed in his eyes. The Golden Lion grinned and said to Roya, as long as you tell me what fruit ability you have, I will believe what you say. Looking at the person floating in the air in front of him, the Golden Lion felt as if he could pose a huge threat to himself. He didn't know whether it was Roya's strangeness or his vague intuition. In summary, the Golden Lion detests this feeling very much. Because he is the Golden Lion. The once flying pirate. How could you feel palpitations just because of this mysterious person in front of you? Roya's eyes, hidden under the cloak, looked at the Golden Lion calmly before saying, my ability is very simple, it's just the ability to hover in the air and control objects to float and move. As Roya's words fell, the anger in the Golden Lion's heart was completely ignited by Roya. Jia ha ha ha, you're just playing with me, right? How could your abilities be the same as mine? You know, I'm a floating person who ate floating fruits. There won't be two identical fruits on this sea. Lion's power. Birth scrolls. I saw the Golden Lion Shurji's hands fiercely tapping the ground, using the ability of the floating fruit to directly lift the entire ground, turning it into multiple lion-shaped pieces of soil, and then crushing it in the direction of Loya. Didn't you say that your abilities are the same as mine? In that case, let's see if it's your strong ability or mine. 5 lion-headed mounds of soil, mixed with strong winds, charged towards Loya. Faced with such a cold attack, Roya only slightly pulled his cloak, and his other hand, imitating the appearance of a golden lion, pressed down on the ground. A blue light flashed past, and the ability of the chicken talisman was activated. The ground in front of Roya began to float, and in the blink of an eye, a dragon head condensed. The appearance of the dragon head is very realistic, surpassing the lion head composed of golden lions in terms of details. The golden lion's eyes suddenly shrank and subconsciously said, "How could this be?" Boom. Boom. Boom boom. I saw the dragon head of Loya roaring towards the head of the golden lion. Just smashed the first 4 lion heads and die together with the last lion head. Accompanied by the fragmentation of 2 people's attacks, dust drifted in the air. The golden lion will definitely not accept this result. How could the golden lion just let go of someone with almost identical abilities to him? You, this guy, have successfully angered me. Since that's the case, I'll let you taste it. Before the golden lion could finish speaking, the sound of distant gunfire reached the ears of the 2. Looking in the direction of the sound, I saw pitch-black shells landing on the island of Vilmeo. With the explosion of the shells, one small pit after another appeared. The golden lion saw 10 warships not far away and a cold sweat appeared on his forehead. Damn the navy, they sent 10 warships to catch me. The golden lion even saw the Warring States period and Kapu that he was very familiar with. Roya, standing next to the golden lion, immediately said upon hearing this sentence, "You overthink. These 10 warships are not only because of you, but also because of half of my credit." Half the credit. Is it difficult for you to do something big before I escaped from prison? Some small things, it's just a matter of snatching food from the tiger's mouth, grabbing what the navy cares most about, and then defeating the demon-slaying order with 1 sword. Kill the demon-slaying order with 1 sword, jia ha ha ha. The golden lion said again, "You guy, your tone is quite impressive. Killing the demon-slaying order with 1 sword is something that even I cannot do." After a pause, the golden lion said again, "But if you dare to say these words, I think you have some strength. Do you want to join my flying pirates? I'll make you a co-captain. I think with the power of the 2 of us, we can easily escape from these despicable navies. And then with the IQ plants on this island, we can definitely rule the world and accomplish things that even Gold, Roger cannot do." Upon hearing the words of the golden lion, Roya became uninterested and said, "I refuse. I'm just passing by, and besides, your strength is too weak. Those who don't rely on themselves and take the power of other things will ultimately be weak." Speaking, Roya turned around and left. He just came to sign in and doesn't want to get involved in the battle. However, Roya's just words, like a sharp sword, pierced heavily into the heart of the golden lion. This made the recently escaped golden lion instantly feel ashamed and angry. You should know, he is the golden lion Shurji of the great pirate, the fleet commander of the flying pirate squadron, and the flying pirate. Surprisingly being called a weak person. He absolutely does not allow others to insult himself. "You guy, you call me a weakling. Since that's the case, let me see how strong you are. How powerful you really are. Chop the waves." I saw the golden lion kick out a huge sword aura with the Sakura 10 on its foot. This sword energy is at least 10 times greater than the sword energy just now. The reason for entering the eyes is all due to sword energy. Even the navy, which was speeding towards Vilmeo in the distance, was momentarily stunned. The warring states on the warship even said to the nearby Kapu, "Kapu, has there been any conflict between them? How did they start fighting?" Capp scratched his head, but he didn't react. He was originally afraid of Roya and the Golden Lion, as they would form a strong alliance, but from the current perspective, it seems that they are overthinking it. The Warring States period saw this scene and even said, Snipes and Clams compete, and the fisherman benefits. Everyone is ready to attack. This time, we must capture both of them. Chapter 9. Just passing by, Imperial Heavenly Scroll. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. The Warring States period and Capp led a large number of naval soldiers to attack the island of Omeo. Faced with this situation, the Golden Lion has completely disregarded it. In his eyes, there was only Roya. Just like when he was alone and caused a lot of trouble for Merinfanduel. He's not killing Loya now, he's not happy in his heart. The overwhelming sword energy charged towards Loya. The chicken talisman was activated, and Loya's body drifted to the side, easily avoiding the slashing sword aura. I saw the sword energy fall to the ground, and with a hiss, a terrifying chasm appeared in Roya's eyes. The momentum on the Golden Lion suddenly spread, with golden hair fluttering in the wind, and the kimono on its body also rustled. You guy, didn't you say I'm a weakling? Why have you been hiding all this time? Do you dare to confront me head on? This time, I'll see how you hide. As the words fell, the Golden Lion's eyes were red and bloodshot, staring like copper bells, like a raging beast. Lion, Thousand Cut Valley. This is an upgraded version of Chopper, with stronger killing power than Chopper. Almost in an instant, the Golden Lion kicked several slashes that were enough to cut open the mountain. Slash countless times, with the Golden Lion as the center, unleashing frenzy towards the surroundings. Even the Navy has been affected. Capp, Green Pheasant. The Warring States period said to the two people next to him, that mysterious person seems to be retreating. Taking advantage of the fact that he is being held by the Golden Lion, we will immediately surround them. This time, we must capture the Golden Lion and this mysterious person and bring them to justice. Yes, General. Warring States period, remember to treat me to Xianbei when you go back. Qingji and Capp replied cleanly, while their figures flashed, shave. Moving forward towards the position of Loya and the Golden Lion. The Warring States period saw the intense war situation in front of them and prayed in their hearts, we must succeed this time. Because he saw Roya's floating ability, he knew that if Roya were to leave, it would be really troublesome to grasp her tracks again. Ice Cube's 2 spears. Beside the Green Pheasant, 4 ice spears condensed and shot towards the slash, blocking the slash in front of him. Iron Fist. Capp was going to be more violent, his armed and domineering aura condensed in his hands, waving them repeatedly, directly smashing one slash after another. Giant Buddha form. Shockwave. Faced with a storm-like attack, the Warring States period directly transitioned to animal series, human fruit, mythical beast species, and giant Buddha form, shooting out the shockwave in their palms. Wherever the shockwave ravages, the sword energy of the Golden Lion slash is completely gone. The Warring States period was like a high wall, protecting the naval soldiers behind them. Only Loya utilizes the power of the chicken charm to constantly float and dodge in the air. The Golden Lion gave the Warring States 3 people a cold glance, knowing that he couldn't drag on like this anymore. Jiahaha, since that's the case, let me make my debut on the world stage again and make it here. Whether it's you despicable guy or the Navy, go to hell with me. The Golden Lion, Shurji, felt as if he had returned to the past, where he had caused a great uproar among Merinfando alone, and his overall aura skyrocketed once again. The dark clouds slowly covered the sky, and the cold wind blew in everyone's hearts. The eyebrows of the Warring States period furrowed tightly, and without any hesitation, he immediately ordered, attack. With the words of the Warring States period falling, the Golden Lion moved. The Golden Lion utilizes the ability of floating fruits to directly control the dark clouds in the sky. The clouds continue to gather, and inside, one can even see electric arcs flickering in thick lightning, about the thickness of a 1,000-year-old tree. The dark clouds mixed with lightning, under the control of the Golden Lion, transformed into the shape of a lion's head. Lion power. Imperial Heavenly Scroll. The hand of the golden lion, raised high, suddenly fell down. The lion's head, composed of thick lightning clouds, is raging towards Loya. Qingji, Kapu, and the Warring States period, faced with such an attack, had no choice but to retreat in physical form. Shocked by the Warring States period, he subconsciously said, "I never expected that the fruit power of the golden lion would awaken." Capp grinned and said, "I don't know if that guy can handle it. Whether we can handle it or not, it's a good thing for us." At this moment, Qingji said beside him, "The golden lion is not a match for this guy." Because he had faced Roya before, that terrifying attack left deep marks in his heart. As if to verify the words of the green pheasant, just as the voice of the green pheasant fell, Roya's figure suddenly rose. The strong wind blew against Roya's cloak. Roya reached out with one hand to pull on the brim of her hat, preventing it from being blown by the strong wind. Her tone remained calm, "As I've said, I'm just passing by. Why did I make things so troublesome?" Shine. A sword chant echoed in everyone's ears. The golden lion's lion power. Imperial Heavenly Scrolls could not suppress the crisp sound of the sword's chant. The next second, Roya's towering momentum surged into the clouds. In their perception, the heavy spiritual pressure is a super powerful and domineering color. When the golden lion sensed this scene, his face was filled with astonishment and he blurted out, "This. How could this be?" The flowing blade, like fire, was slowly pulled out by Roya, and the blade flickered with a forest-scorching light. Yen hot hell. As Roya's words fell, dozens of towering pillars of fire rose up around her. They are rushing towards Roya's direction. Forcing the Warring States 3, they kept using shaving to dodge. This is the first time in the Warring States period, facing Roya head-on. When he saw such an exaggerated inflammation, he was even more shocked and couldn't speak. The green pheasant, on the other hand, looked even more shocked at Roya, as he could feel that the power of Roya's strike far exceeded that of the sword in O'Hara back then. Flames coalesced in Roa's flowing blade like fire, and Roa was seen slashing fiercely in the air. In an instant, the wind and clouds changed. The surrounding space is twisted in the heat wave, and flames and slashes blend together, creating an astonishing momentum. Sword energy is howling, flames are burning. When Roya's hot hell and the golden lion's mighty imperial scrolls touched each other, the whole world seemed to suddenly fall silent. In their vision, there was only the dazzling light. The Warring States period squinted its eyes, trying to see clearly what was happening before its eyes. Suddenly, his eyes widened in disbelief as he saw the slashing blow that easily shattered the lion power. Imperial Heavenly Scroll, condensed from the golden lion's clouds and lightning. Dark clouds evaporate directly under the high temperature of flames. Thunder is also easily consumed by flames. With unparalleled power mixed in, he swiftly slashed towards the golden lion. Chapter 10. The Heart of the Strong, the Story of the Defeat. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The light dissipated until the terrifying explosion echoed in everyone's ears. Boom boom boom. The blazing sword energy that Loya slashed gradually became clear and magnified in the eyes of the golden lion. At this moment, he had nowhere to hide. Bang! Another explosion sounded. This is the sound of sword chi hitting the golden lion. Numerous naval soldiers were shocked to see this scene in front of them. In their impression, the powerful golden lion was defeated with a sword in front of this mysterious person. And it's still so crisp and neat. How could this be possible? This is the golden lion. That flying pirate was actually defeated by this mysterious person with one sword. They could vaguely see the outline of the golden lion, twisted and unstable as the flames steamed. There were no screams, only the sound of flames constantly burning. Everyone couldn't even imagine how much pain the golden lion was enduring in this blazing flame. If it were them, they would have screamed in pain and their bodies would have been completely destroyed. When the flames dissipated, a golden lion, like black charcoal, came into everyone's sight. The golden hair lying on the ground was completely gone, and the whole person was covered in darkness, emitting a smell of coke. And it was in such a miserable situation that the golden lion still relied on its super-strong consciousness and slowly extended its hand. Let everyone who sees this scene feel a chill in their hearts. No way, the golden lion still has the strength to counterattack. It's all like this now. Do you have any other powers? What a powerful willpower this is. Seeing this scene, Roya knew that the golden lion was already mentally exhausted, but he had to admit that the golden lion had a strong heart. So, using a voice that only the golden lion could hear, Roya whispered, "I take back that sentence from before, and I admit that you are a strong person." After saying these words, Roya turned around and activated the chicken charm. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared from everyone's sight and left gracefully. The golden lion gritted his teeth tightly, and after hearing Roya's words, he suddenly remembered what he had said to Roger at the time. "You guy, one day I will definitely defeat you." After saying these words, the golden lion could no longer hold on. He closed his eyes and fell directly from the sky, landing heavily on the ground, lifting up dust. It was not until this time that people from the Warring States period came to their senses from shock. He looked deeply at the direction of Roya's departure, in the form of a great Buddha, holding tightly with both hands, unwilling to accept it. This guy, he managed to escape again. The Warring States period spoke with hatred, while releasing the form of the great Buddha and giving orders to those around him, immediately handcuffed the golden lion with sea-tower stones and imprisoned him back in the infinite prison on the 6th floor of the advancing city. After giving instructions for the follow-up, the Warring States looked at the carefree Kapu next to him and said, "You're only halfway through the task, but you can still laugh. Let's talk about it. What do you think? I really didn't expect that this mysterious person not only has unparalleled flame and sword skills, but also has the same abilities as the golden lion. Moreover, the surgical results should also be in his hands. I am really curious, how did he achieve it?" After saying these words, Capp slowly put away his smile and said, "However, from the current situation, the sea is going to be chaotic." Upon hearing Kapu's words, the Warring States period couldn't help but exclaim, "Yes, the sea is going to be chaotic. The appearance of this mysterious person has disrupted our actions time and time again, damn thing." This time, it was a sword that defeated the golden lion who had just escaped from prison. Although the golden lion has just escaped from prison and is in poor condition, with broken legs, the pinnacle of the great swordsman is no longer ordinary. But the fruit's ability was greatly enhanced, even so, it was defeated by Roya's sword, just like coke. This undoubtedly refreshed the strength of Roya in the hearts of the Warring States period once again. At this moment, Roya is flying rapidly towards the Holy Land of Marijuana, as the system has already released the next check.in task. Ding, release check.in task. Holy Mary Maria, reward. Random top fruit without side effects, time. 3 days. Roya used the power of the chicken charm to quickly float and move in the air. But just moving like this is too much trouble. He plans to learn from the method of the golden lion. After flying in the air for most of the day, Roya finally discovered an island on the sea. Without any hesitation, Roya arrived directly on this island. The chicken talisman was fully activated, and a faint blue light covered the island in the blink of an eye. I saw this island slowly floating under the control of Roya. Countless seawater, after leaving the island, stirred up with each other and stirred up huge waves. After turning this island into a floating island, Roya flew towards the Holy Land of Marijuana. The Holy Land of Mary, located between the first and second half of the Great Voyage, is situated at the peak of the Red Earth continent. Inside is the residence of the Tianlong people, with a large number of top combat capabilities and intelligence agencies. It can be said that it is very dangerous to want to sign in here. But Roya already had a plan in mind. 3 days passed in a blink of an eye, within the time limit of this last day. Roya arrived at the high altitude of the Holy Land of Maria, without any haste or delay. At this moment it was night, with dark clouds and no stars or moon visible. This is exactly what Roya intended, he came here specifically at night. The floating island under Roya's feet seemed to blend with the pitch-black night sky, completely invisible and unnoticed. Standing at the outermost edge of the floating island, Roya looked down at the Holy Land below, Maria. The Holy Land below, Maria, is ablaze with flames. Roya could see the faint commotion below. Roya reached out his hand and pressed it against the brim of his hat. If Roya himself remembers correctly, there was a riot in the Holy Mary Joan. That was Fisher Tiger, who used to be a servant, who climbed up the Holy Land of Mary Georgia with his bare hands and then released thousands of servants. This riot has allowed Roya to fish in troubled waters and sneak into the Holy Land of Marigia without being discovered. Leaning forward, Roya jumped directly off the floating island. The cold wind of the cold night blew against Roya's cloak. As Roya descended rapidly towards the Holy Land of Marjoya. The chaos above the Holy Land is increasingly reflected in Roya's eyes. As Roya quickly landed from the air, he even saw Marinfando not far away and had dispatched warships heading towards this place. It's really a beautiful scenery line. Roya murmured and then, concealing his figure, arrived at the Holy Land of Mary Joan.